across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your host for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 7 o'clock. Get on the show, get it off your chest, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Friday, March the 6th. Here's what's coming up. It's war. As in the war of the TikTok videos, after the White House posted America's slick social media conflict film, little Keir Starmer soon responded. But was it a good idea to set Britain's laughably over-the-top footage to the music of Dire Straits? Because Dire Straits is what this nation is in. Thanks to him. Worse still, those super brains in the Downing Street Communications Department chose the band's classic song, Money for Nothing, which pretty much sums up Labour's ludicrous belief system. But frankly, folks, how dare two-tier Keir and his band of pacifist brothers depict themselves as all-action warriors amid an escalating global war that everyone knows they were woefully unprepared for. More gaslighting from a gormless government that is patently failing in its first duty to protect the British people and keep us safe. 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, America maintained its strikes on Iran and stepped up its attacks on Starmer and his refusal to help our closest ally in its hour of need. And across the Middle East, Iran's drone assaults continue to pace amid fears that an already catastrophic situation is poised to get a whole lot worse. Meanwhile, back in Blighty, we're placing bets on when HMS Dragon will finally set sail for Cyprus to defend British air bases and the 100,000 plus UK nationals who live there. It won't be any time soon, you can rest assured of that. So far, humiliatingly, that job has been carried out by the navies of France, Greece, Spain and Netherlands. And Starmer has the nerve to assure us that he'd been preparing for this since last month. Is the Prime Minister a liar? The answer's yes, by the way. 0344 499 1000. In other news, Deputy PM and former Foreign Secretary Calamity Lamy showcases his genius again by declaring that Cyprus is in NATO, which it isn't. Thanks, Dave. Zach Polanski laughs as the Greens vote against condemning the anti-Semitic vandal desecration of Winston Churchill's Westminster statue. And Nigel Farage's right-hand man places an astute bet that Trump will not bomb Iran and loses $550,000. Wouldn't mind a game of poker against him. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday afternoon together. And let's not waste any time. We've got a lot to get through this afternoon. Let's go over to our ace reporter, my former producer and friend, Samara Gill. Hello, Samara.
Wow, I didn't realise we were friends, Kev. That's
well, I don't want to overstate it, you know, but you know.
we didn't spend that much time together over the years.
Yeah, only about like kind of half our life for the last 2 years, and Alex Phillips is now in the control room. God, my life has really reached rock bottom. Right, anyway, so let's get serious. We've got to talk about the war and a very serious aspect of the war, and that aspect is, of course, the TikTok war. First of all, America, the White House, released, and I gotta say, I do think this TikTok video is pretty cool. They released this. That's the White House. You know, I mean, you shouldn't really glory in war, but that is pretty damn cool, isn't it? So, little Keir Starmer saw that. Oh, we've had to get a similar video out on TikTok. Here's his.
Our number one priority is protecting our people. And that's why, long before the US and Israeli action last weekend, we had already deployed additional military capabilities into the region to defend our interests.
Yeah, long before. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. It's just lying. I mean, if you were preparing Mr. Starmer, oh, sorry, Sir Keir, then you should have sent some warships out to Cyprus. But you didn't, did you? Because HMS Dragon Its Feet, as we now call it, is still in Portsmouth Harbour, won't set sail until next week, so therefore won't arrive for at least a fortnight. Meanwhile, British citizens on the island of Cyprus are being protected by first the French Navy, then the Greek Navy, then the Spanish Navy, and currently I gather the Dutch, the Netherlands are doing their bit for us. So it's absolute nonsense, isn't it, Samara?
It is total nonsense. And you actually reminded me of something Alex Phillips said to me last night, which was that the type of fighter jets that they're sending out and the HMS Dragon is basically the equivalent of sending a wheelchair into this war, which is true. It really is. I mean, it's not serious. Just like Keir Starmer's TikTok video is basically a pound store version of Trump. I think it is actually really interesting to read into the different media attitudes that both countries are using when referring to this war, because it tells us a lot about the approach. You know, the United Kingdom has a very disorganized, completely fake news, propaganda style assault on the TikTok followers and whoever's following, whereas the Trump administration is getting in, doing it, and then they're proud of what they're doing. The slow motion Macarena is something no one in any country wants to hear coming, because they know that they're about to be bombed, it seems.
Yeah, exactly right. And as I was saying, what's happening quite clearly in Downing Street with that lousy lot, the Labour Downing Street comms department and Starmer and his cabinet, they've realised that the people of Britain are saying, what have you losers been doing to prepare for this? We knew it was coming. You've done the square root of sod all. And we feel that you have badly let us down. So what they've been doing for the last couple of days is this rearguard action to pretend that they've been busy, you know, hectically preparing for weeks on end since the beginning of January. It's just a bloody lie. It's obviously a lie. Otherwise, we would have had warships, or at least one warship in the Mediterranean protecting our air bases on Cyprus, which, of course, became the scene of the first attack on British territory since the Falklands War, the first bombing of British territory since the Falklands War. And so far, if we were prepared, we would, like a proud sovereign nation, have responded. You don't let enemies bomb you. Yet we let Iran bomb us. It might have been Hezbollah, we're not sure, but Hezbollah would have been backed by Iran. We let them bomb our airbase, drone attack, and feebly we've done nothing about it. And a quick word about that Labour comms department and that video. Protect the people. Yeah, if I was you, next time you could put a video out, don't ruin it by putting Starmer's crappy little voice over it, eh? But I mean, why didn't they think this through? As soon as I heard it, I thought, that's dire straits. As in the dire straits Starmer has plunged this country into. And what track was it? Money for nothing. The Labour philosophy for everything. That's so ridiculous, so amateurish.
They don't think about anything, do they? And it's kind of true. Do we have money for this war? The answer is probably not. I mean, the way that our economy is looking, the way that we can't even hand out basic necessities to citizens, I think part of it is because of that. And I think also, you know, you've got the legal element to it. Starmer is so slow to act on anything. I think it will be known in the future as the sort of Achilles heel of his entire leadership. The fact that he has to analyze everything from a legal perspective before acting. I mean, this was the key issue in this scenario. They declined the first wave of military action. They were not involved, and now it's too little too late. I mean, they've quite literally let the ship sail without getting on board. And unfortunately, Britain is going to be so left behind within this very, very important conflict. And, you know, he's showing up at his iftar dinners. He's doing what he can for his own personal rapprochement, but he actually isn't doing anything for our national security and our national integrity. And it's going to go down in the history books, Kev. It really will.
It's embarrassing. He's humiliated this nation. This ridiculous government, as of last Friday, all arguing, oh, we're pacifists, Red Ed Miliband, crazy Ed, insisting that we don't get involved in this conflict because we're pacifists. And basically, we've got to think about the Muslim vote. And the Muslim vote here rather likes Iran. Therefore, let's not be too nasty about the mad mullahs and that vile regime, and let's oppose America. Let's not let America use our air bases. The whole saga is a shambles and an embarrassment, and this lot were not ready. They're not up to this job of governing the country. And of course we've got David Calamity Lammy, former foreign secretary, of course, famed for his ignorance, now deputy prime minister and justice secretary, announcing that Cyprus, the country we're not protecting, the 100,000 or so British citizens who live there that we are not defending, other navies are, we've got him saying this.
I would say is we've got 400 people, additional staff dealing with air defences, and that includes over Cyprus. They would have heard the Defence Secretary was there yesterday. They know also that we have deployed Typhoons to the region, F-35s to the region. We will do everything we can to protect our airbase, to protect our staff and people, but also to support alongside our allies, I should say, because Cyprus is part of NATO.
Yeah, one small problem there, Samara, it's not.
He's an
what is
idiot.
going on?
He's lucky that wasn't a question on Mastermind, but it's quite serious now. I mean, this is someone who couldn't point to Iran on a map if his life depended on it. He knows nothing about anything, and it's really trying in these times when you've got J.D. Vance, who is technically, you know, his sort of his substitute over in the United States. They are both kind of the people in the same position making the decisions. You've got J.D. Vance actually coming out strong on top of this, and David Lammy being totally shown up. I mean, the hostile states are laughing at us. You can see that with the unfortunate revealed terrorist attack that we saw this morning that was foiled, thank goodness, by our intelligence services. But we're talking about Iran, who has implanted many different sleeper cells within this country that are ready to erupt if they can see that we don't have strong leadership and aren't going to come down on them in a strong way. I mean, we've come from, you know, America obviously being our closest ally in this regard. You know, we joined them in the Gulf War, Afghanistan, the Iraq War. And then unfortunately, what happened with the Iraq War has really tarnished those who can't see a situation for what it is and are stuck in the history books and the past. This is not the Iraq War at all. And it's so unfortunate that optics are getting in the way of this for us.
You know, also, when Lammy was speaking there, he gave us a window into the tortured soul of this government. He's talking about, oh, we've established that, you know, if we attack Iranian missile bases, storage units, that's legal. This government is still a reflection of our human rights lawyer obsessive prime minister. They're hand-wringing about the legality of whether or not we can fire missiles, whether or not we can do this, whether or not we can do that. Look, international law has its place during peace times, but when people are dropping bombs on each other, firing missiles at each other, when the Middle East is at all-out war, checking your international law books to check whether or not you can fire a missile is not appropriate. And this government are just obsessing on whether whatever they do is lawful. This has got to stop. We have to be a nation of action, not a nation of legalese.
Well, it's so funny when the law is used so correctly. You know, when you got Lord Hermer putting people in jail for tweets allegedly that he was involved with that, but I wouldn't say he was. But the thing is, you've got them using the rule book in the good way, and then when it comes to throwing the rule book out of the window, they just can't do it. And unfortunately, you're going to see states like America totally triumph in geopolitical situations when they meet force with force. And that's how you have to do it with people like the Ayatollah, who were talk about international law, they were taking people out of protests, injuring them, putting them in hospital, and then going into hospitals with machine guns and shooting them. That's who we're dealing with at the moment, so that it was done in a covert way. They killed 30,000 people in 1 month. Does Keir Starmer care about that on an international law basis? No. I mean, the level of hypocrisy is ridiculous. And I was outside the Iranian embassy just last night, and the fury towards Keir Starmer from both Iranians and British citizens who are aligned with the Iranian people who are against the Ayatollah is astounding. But we actually, you know, there are still Ayatollah sympathizers, as I'm sure you're going to cover and you have covered, Kev, where when I was outside, there was someone who drove past on a motorbike with a photo of the Ayatollah. I have got footage of it that I'll share with Talk. He was kissing the photo of the Ayatollah and swearing at them. So you're seeing what happens when Keir Starmer can't put the foot down and prescribe the IRGC properly.
Do you know what I call the Ayatollah? Dog. Do you know what that stands for? Dead old git. But let's talk about, just quickly, Samara, about America's reaction to Britain. Pete Hegseth. See, I've got my Pete Hegseth hairdo on. I've done that specially.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
I've done it specially. So it's in honour of Pete. He's saying, well, you know, in the end, finally, we got there in the end. They're going to the Brits will let us use their air bases. But his contempt was palpable. The president has spent the week saying that our prime minister is no Churchill. He's very, very disappointed in this. So, you know, Starmer has succeeded this week in basically alienating everyone. Iranian supporters, you know, Muslims don't like him because they don't because he has allowed the Americans to use our air bases. So his craven pursuit of the Muslim vote has just failed. America, it looks like he may have ruined the special relationship forever because he was so, he prevaricated so much before finally allowing them to use our facilities to launch strikes on Iran. And as I say, the president just, again, Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary over there, his contempt knows no bounds, and nor does the president's. You know, Starmer has just screwed this up in spades, hasn't he?
He has. And, you know, for a long time, really since he came into power, you were saying, you know, he's in above his head. He doesn't know what he's doing. He is inadequate. And unfortunately, when you've got these really serious geopolitical conflicts like this, you see the tide come out and Keir Starmer being left completely naked in his abilities. And this is a really, really testing time for countries. You're seeing who is able to come out on top, who is not. I mean, even Australia, which I have to say we have an even more liberal prime minister than Keir Starmer, has supported the US all the way.
And Mark Carney and Canada. Yeah.
Which just tells you how spineless Starmer is.
It is terrifying. We are in the hands of complete idiots. They have no idea what they're doing. They are completely out of their depth. They do not know how to respond to the reality of what is going on. The reality is the Middle East is continuing to erupt into an unprecedented war, and it's getting worse, and it's going global. And we have a government there like a fox caught in the headlights. They just do not know what to do. It is terrifying. It really, really is. Thanks very much, Samara. I gather that you're off to the West Country to spend the weekend with Alex Phillips. Is that true?
I believe so. Yes, I've been kidnapped. I don't know if I'll live to see another day.
Samara, we're all praying for you. Have a lovely time, and thank you very much. See you next week. That's Samara Gill, our ace reporter. Now, next up, we are going to sort of well, we hope. I'm not sure what the situation is, but we're going to go over to Dubai with a bit of luck to talk to our international editor, Isabel Oakeshott, who, of course, lives there. And Dubai continues to be under fire from the drones. Yesterday, we were trying to talk to her, and she had to literally rush into an air raid shelter, which is the underground car park of the apartment block she lives in. We're hoping that it'll be a break in air fire, so we can talk to her in just a little while and get the situation there in the Middle East and in Dubai. So hopefully that next. Stay tuned.
No doubt that the British government has acted in an incredibly weak, equivocal way. It's easy to start a war, very difficult to ensure that the aftermath doesn't descend into complete chaos.
Well, Trump doesn't mince his words. I mean, we should have realised where our national interest stood, and he should have expressed immediate support.
Do you know that we've got the cost of living coming down, that you've got interest rates coming down?
I'm sorry. Listen, I'm really happy to say both sides, but that to me... I don't know where you get your source from, but go Google, go ChatGPT. If you've got a producer in the room, get them to do it right now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight to Dubai and talk to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel. Do I assume that it's all quiet on the Eastern Front at the moment?
It is, and Kev, I can exclusively reveal that I have company because Mr. Richard Tice, my fiancé and deputy of Reform UK, has done the exact opposite of what all these hysterical social media influencers are doing, and has actually flown into Dubai. And I'm very pleased that all went smoothly. He came out here on Etihad, the one of the two national carriers here, and we're in good spirits.
So were you like that when he arrived? Were you like that wartime picture? You know, you ran into his arms and your leg went up like that.
I was actually pretty busy writing for the newspaper.
Well, it's interesting what you say, because my brother-in-law is flying over from Singapore and at the weekend, and he told us, it looks like the flight's off. He lives in Singapore, and he's just got back in touch with us and said, it looks like it's back on. So it looks as if Dubai, is at least trying to get back to normal, and the airport is not a no-go zone as long as you're sort of going, well, I guess in both directions now.
I think, look, everything is subject to constant review, isn't it? He flew into Abu Dhabi on an overnight flight. I felt it was very touch and go as to whether he would make it. In fact, as he was heading to the airport last night, Heathrow Airport, there were fake news reports on social media that Abu Dhabi Airport had been hit in some way. And they were quite credible looking reports, including pictures of a building that looked like it was on fire. And we sort of said to each other, is there any point in you continuing this journey? I mean, are you just making a pointless trip to Heathrow? And there's no way this flight is going to be taking off. And we just thought, well, let's continue. You never know your luck. And sure enough, the flight was fine. It's fair to say it wasn't particularly full, whereas flights going in the other direction are a little bit hard to book at the moment. But he got out here smoothly. It was bang on time, no problems whatsoever. And I mean, it is quiet in Dubai, no doubt about that. But I know that Etihad and Emirates are very, very keen to get their schedule back up and running, as many flights as possible, as soon as possible. And places on, flights out have been appearing in and out, actually, all day today. The school holidays have been brought forward here, which has been quite complicated for a lot of parents. You can't imagine this happening in England, can you? The government just suddenly says, oh, well, we're just going to change the holiday dates. So that has been a bit of a scramble for people that have got, trips booked and so on. But flights are now freeing up. And I think there's a little feeling of optimism. Now, I don't want to speak too soon. It is Friday night. We've passed the point of the call to prayer in the evening. People are out and about, but there is a bit of anticipation that we may see some new attacks this evening. That is pure speculation, but it would be wrong to be flippant about any of this.
Absolutely.
It's not like this whole thing is over. But I suppose I could say cautious optimism. And Richard will be having hopefully some meetings with ministers here tomorrow, while Nigel Farage is headed to Mar-a-Lago, I understand, for a meeting with President Trump.
Well, at least Reform are getting their act together. Give Richard my best. I'm glad he made it. But as for Labour, I don't think they're getting their act together, to say the least. The latest reassurance from our Prime Minister is apparently we have got boots on the ground in Cyprus. 2 boots. The boots of the Defence Secretary, John Healey. This is what he said. He said, John Healey, the Defence Secretary, is on the ground there. Where do you expect him to be? In the sea? And then they keep saying, we have jets in the air. Well, where else are they going to be? His performance it's beyond pathetic. It's more than pathetic. It is very, very frightening. And the Americans have made their contempt very, very clear. We're finally, basically, a little bit allowing them to use our facilities to launch strikes on Iran, with people like David Lammy assuring us that it is legal. These attacks are legal. Oh, shut up. Stop going on about what's legal. People are dying out there. The bombs are raining down all over the place. This is a war. It doesn't matter what's legal but these people are disappearing into their international law books while basically avoiding the reality of what is going on. It's not good enough. Here is Trump trying to respond to what Donald Trump's been saying all week. Pete Hegseth got involved as well yesterday, that Britain's response has been extremely, very, very disappointing, and that Keir Starmer is no Churchill. Here's Keir's response.
Prepared to do on Saturday was for the UK to join a war unless I was satisfied there was a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan. That remains my position.
Lawful basis. As I say, it's like, I tell you, I don't want to wish this upon us, but if a massive bomb was flying through the sky towards us, towards London, and we knew it was going to hit, Keir Starmer would go into his international law books to see if it was legal to respond. I'm not joking. This is what this government is like. Lammy today droning on about the legality of defensive strikes, if only on Iranian missile storage units. I mean, they're just not at the races, this lot, are they?
I mean, do you know what really is beginning to worry me? We are going to become so irrelevant that world leaders won't even be interested in talking to the UK. You know, Keir Starmer has made us such a global laughing stock. I wonder whether people like Donald Trump, whether presidents and prime ministers all over the world are just going to go through the motions with the UK, rather than seeing us, as they have done until so recently, as leaders in these matters, as a country that actually can help set the agenda, can help shape world affairs, rather than just be buffeted around with their noses in legal treaties and international regulations and other things that, frankly, too much of the world doesn't care about. And that means that the rules of the game are very different to what's in the printed copybooks of case law and so on. It is truly weird and warped and worrying. And I don't know where this goes, but none of it is good for the UK under this.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. You know, this little man Starmer, who yesterday lied to the nation. He just lied to us and said we've been preparing hectically since early January. No, you haven't. If you've been preparing since January, we'd have at least one warship, hopefully more, in the Mediterranean right now, protecting the 100,000 plus British citizens who live on the island of Cyprus and our air bases. If that's what you would be the situation. Instead, the warship that you decided on Monday to send there, rather late, if you don't mind me saying so, HMS Dragon, is still in dock. A couple of days ago, it had scaffolding all over its funnel and will not leave until next week. So that'll be a fortnight before it gets there. So how dare he stand there and tell this nation? He said, a lot of you must be scared, you must be frightened. No, well, thank you, very reassuring. How dare he stand there and tell us he's been preparing, that this government has been preparing? What's going on now, Isabel? It's quite clear to me. They've even put out our Downing Street comms team have put out a pathetic TikTok video today full of jets and, you know, missiles and things, saying, with Starmer saying the first duty of a government is to protect its people. Well, you're not doing it, mate. As if we have a cabinet full of warriors who were ready for this conflict. They have realised late in life that the people of this country expect more from their government than to be a bunch of superannuated pound store Che Guevaras sitting around in an office last Friday just complimenting each other on being pacifists and not getting involved with evil America and urging for negotiation. Starmer keeps saying, I urge America to de-escalate and negotiate. I mean, is he even serious?
I mean, I think that's the only language he knows, isn't it? I mean, he doesn't know any other rhetoric other than let us all get round the table and so on. And it is so utterly humiliating. And when he says the first duty of any prime minister is to keep the citizens safe, how can we take that seriously when day after day after day you, prime minister, allow hundreds of undocumented young men to come into our country, many of whom, by the way, are Iranians? So no, you're failing in your duty to keep our people safe. You're not stopping the wrong people coming in, and you can't get our ships and other defence assets, what's left of them, out to the right places at the right time. It is utterly, utterly embarrassing. It is excruciating. And, you know, for our veterans, as they watch this shameful spectacle unfold, they feel utterly devastated, you know, after the years of service that they have given, that we are that diminished.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. And as you and Richard enjoy a glass of wine tonight, here's something for you to ruminate on. We think that this week more than 600 migrants have crossed the channel illegally.
Marvellous.
And also we're getting reports that Iranians are beginning to embark on the journey to Britain as migrants. So it's all very special. It's an absolute shambles. I'm embarrassed to be British under this government. I'm not embarrassed to be British, but I'm embarrassed to be British under this government, and they are just not doing their job. If he says the first duty of a Prime Minister is to protect its people, I would agree with him. The trouble is, he is not performing that duty. He has failed in that duty. It's a disgrace, Isabel. But I'm glad Richard's there, and have a lovely weekend. We'll talk on Monday. Isabel Oakeshott there, Talks International editor with The View from Dubai and the Middle East in general. But when we come back, we'll talk more on our warship. The HMS dragging its feet, as we now call it, still in Portsmouth Harbour, and we'll talk about our feeble, dire military response or political response, just general response to what's going on. It's just unbelievable. It really is. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest, military expert, former MP, Tory MP for Bracknell, Colonel James Sunderland. Welcome, James.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right. Long time. Good to have you on the show. Well, we've been talking a lot about HMS Dragon and, frankly, the British military response generally to the conflict in the Middle East, which, of course, is escalating alarmingly. We don't appear to be at the races at all. And I was shocked, frankly, yesterday when the Prime Minister stood before the nation, addressed the nation, to assure us that this government has been preparing since early January for this. And they clearly haven't, because if they were preparing, they would, of course, have sent at least one warship, maybe more, to the Mediterranean, specifically to protect the 100,000 plus British citizens who live on the island of Cyprus, and, of course, the military personnel there who live on our two air bases there. But they didn't. So those people, those Brits on Cyprus, have been protected this week, first by the French Navy, then the Greek Navy, then the Spanish Navy, and I gather the Dutch Navy is now on its way to do the job, conspicuous by its absence throughout all of this, humiliatingly, was the British Navy. He hasn't been preparing properly for this at all, has he?
I don't believe so. I think in terms of the special relationship, I can't recall it ever being at such a low ebb. And for the USA, for Bahrain, for Cyprus and other nations to publicly call out the Prime Minister, in terms of international diplomacy, this is totally unprecedented. In fact, it's a complete humiliation. And I'm struggling to think of a bigger military humiliation right now than Suez. I think Suez is probably the biggest one we've had apart from this. And in terms of the ship, let's be absolutely clear. Labour today in the fleet has got roughly the same number of vessels that it had under the Conservative government. So the same number of submarines, the same number of ships, aircraft. It's clearly an operational decision to not have a ship in the Gulf. And just to put it in perspective, your readers and your viewers may not be aware that the British have had a permanent naval presence in the Gulf for 40 years, 40 years. That came to an end before Christmas when HMS Lancaster was decommissioned. So again, it's a Labour decision to not have a permanent naval presence in the Gulf at a point at which aggressors are rising, we've got all sorts of things happening, unstable, competitive environment at the very point in time when we needed to be ready.
Absolutely. To go back to the special relationship, it was very important. It was a catastrophic decision by Starmer and his cabinet to refuse to allow America to use our air bases, both here in Britain and, of course, Diego Garcia in the Chagos, to launch airstrikes on Iran. We refused, and Donald Trump, of course, and Pete Hegseth have made their feelings very, very clear. Extremely disappointed. Starmer's no Churchill. And then, of course, typical Starmer, the U-turns just at the end, but only sort of slightly by saying, well, they can use them as long as they only launch defensive strikes. What is a defensive bomb strike? I don't know. Defensive bomb strikes on missile storage units. But I think the Americans are ignoring that. They're just using our air bases now. But the damage is done. And as you quite rightly say, James, I think the special relationship, which is very important, was very important to both countries, will take one hell of a long time to recover from this.
I totally agree. If you think back to the US bombing last year of the Iranian nuclear facilities, it struck me as slightly odd that the US made the decision to fly their assets directly from US soil. My instinct at the time was that the UK also denied the use of sovereign air bases to the US at that point in time. That was never in the public domain, as far as I know. But of course, we now know that it is in the public domain for what happened earlier this week. And again, quite extraordinary for permission to have been denied, noting the special relationship, noting that we've been at one on military operations for as long as I can recall. I've served alongside US troops. I've served on many US-UK operations. That relationship militarily is very strong, but I suspect right now at government level, it's really weak. And the worst thing is this is being played out internationally now, which means the UK are a laughing stock in terms of what they're bringing to the party. I mean, to be criticised by other nations as a member of NATO, as a member of the UN Security Council, is completely and utterly humiliating.
Yeah, all of our allies are having a go at us for letting them all down. Of course, America, but also Cyprus, also Bahrain, also the United Arab Emirates, where Dubai is. It's just a catastrophe. It really is. And we just don't look like we're at the races. So you've got people like Ed Miliband apparently beating his chest and saying we're pacifists at this National Security Council meeting on Friday. Well, OK, great, but there's a reality going on in the Middle East, and you just saying we're pacifists and we don't want to get involved, it's just not good enough. They're letting this nation down badly, aren't they, James?
Keir Starmer is clearly a lawyer. He's haunted.
That's one word for him.
He's haunted by the Gulf War. He's haunted by Tony Blair and what happened there. And
yes,
of course, he's also subject to, Muslim influences in the party. We know that. So he's a politician as much as he is anything else. But what's interesting for me with the Iranians is, whatever the legality, and clearly Trump thinks this is legal, as do other Arab nations who are fed up with the destabilization that Iran is bringing to the Middle East. What's interesting here, of course, is the fact that Keir Starmer has sat on the fence. It has been embarrassing. And let's not forget that in my time in uniform, we lost over 1,000 British troops in Afghanistan and in Iraq at the hands of Iranian militias and Iranian technology. The Iranians have blood on their hands, and no doubt Trump is selling a stall. But when you add that to the support of Hamas and the attacks on the 7th of October, when you add that to the Houthi and the Hezbollah attacking allied shipping across the Red Sea and in the Straits of Hormuz, I mean, it is quite extraordinary. And, you know, there aren't many Arab nations coming forward and you know, mourning the loss of the Ayatollah. And again, it's significant that Bahrain is a close ally in the Middle East, which is directly facing Iran across the Straits, is critical of the UK. It's a muddle, and I'm afraid what sticks in my throat as well is when Keir Starmer has the audacity to stand up in the House of Commons and blame the Conservative government for his decisions. I mean, it is quite extraordinary.
It's pathetic, James. It's really pathetic. Good to speak to you again, though. Thank you very much for your time. Colonel James Sunderland, military expert and former Tory MP. Next up, we're going to talk to Jake Wallace-Simons about that Green Goblin, Zach Polansky. He's a member of the London Assembly, you know, the council that runs the capital city. And the Greens in that assembly voted against condemning the desecration of Winston Churchill's statue last week. And apparently Zach Polansky found that all very funny, laughed about it. Good, isn't it? So we'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
No doubt that the British government has acted in an incredibly weak, equivocal way. It's easy to start a war, very difficult to ensure that the aftermath doesn't descend into complete chaos.
Well, Trump doesn't mince his words. I mean, we should have realised where our national interest stood, and he should have expressed immediate support.
Do you know that we've got the cost of living coming down, that you've got interest rates coming down?
I'm sorry. Listen, I'm really happy to say both sides, but that to me... I don't know where you get your source from, but go Google, go ChatGPT. If you've got a producer in the room, get them to do it right now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to author and columnist Jake Wallace-Simons. Welcome, Jake.
Hi.
Now, Zach Polansky, the leader of the Green Party, is actually a sort of London councillor. He's a member of the London Assembly, which is presided over by our two-bit little pipsqueak mayor, Sadiq Khan. They had a debate the other day on the 27th of February. You will recall Sir Winston Churchill's statue in Westminster in Parliament Square was basically desecrated. It was vandalised and, among other awful slogans painted on with red paint, was Zionist war criminal. Turned out some Dutch git did it or something, and well, he allegedly did it. He's charged with it. Now, they debated this in the London Assembly, and a motion was proposed to condemn this attack on our greatest ever leader, the man who won the war for Britain, won the Second World War. The Green Party, the Green members, voted against this condemnation, with Green Assembly member Zoe Garbett defending this direct action protest and always defending vandalism as, and I quote, a legitimate and necessary part of democratic political life. Rather than worrying about a statue, what should worry us all is the UK's complicity and continued support for Israel. Zach Polanski, meanwhile, was watching this debate. He found it hilarious. He was laughing his head off. I mean, these people, first of all, they obviously suffer from, we know about Trump derangement syndrome. The Green Party, Zach and his gang, his gormless gang, suffer from Israel derangement syndrome. And Zach Polanski finds it funny, the whole idea of desecrating the statue of Winston Churchill and calling him a Zionist war criminal. These people are scum of the earth, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, these are people who want to legalise drugs and prostitution, and yet have still managed to attract the Islamist vote in Britain. I mean, for me, I think, you know, threading together a sequence of recent events helps to paint a picture about what we're facing here with the Green Party. And first of all, we had the Gorton and Denton by-election, which seems like a long time ago with the war in Iran, but was only a few days ago or a week ago. That shameful display of the Greens campaigning in Urdu on a platform of Gaza, locally in Manchester, winning that, making further political Islamist incursion possible with this Green-Green alliance. We used to call it the Red-Green alliance. Now it's the Green-Green alliance. So there was that. The next day, as we see in the pictures on the screen now, Winston Churchill's statue was defaced with pro-Hamas slogans, I think it's possible to say. There was a red triangle, which is a symbol of Hamas. There was globalise the Intifada and Churchill Zionist war criminal. The day after that was when the attack on Iran began. And of course, subsequently to that, the Greens' deputy leader, Mohsin Ali, attended a vigil or a rally against that war, which de facto, many people have said, was pro-Ayatollah or in defence of the Iranian regime. After he attracted flack for that, he then posted online, I'm not pro-Ayatollah, I'm only anti-war, I'm proudly anti-war. Well, I seem to recall he was the very man who celebrated October the 7th online. So he wasn't always anti-war, was he? He wasn't anti-war when it came to October the 7th, but he had become now. So all of this kind of, I think, threads together to show this sort of left-wing, narcissistic, posturing, virtue signalling a movement that's acting as a Trojan horse for some really quite serious Islamism inside, that's going to use the structure of the Green Party to get into Parliament, to get into our politics, to exert some control, attempted control over our political system and our culture. And it really is very dangerous indeed.
I agree with you. I mean, what do they call the Green Party? The Watermelon Party, because they're green on the outside and red on the inside. They're a bunch of... Yeah. I mean, to call them communists is probably an exaggeration. I think they're further left than that. They're sort of almost sort of nihilists, you know. They're just sort of against everything. They remind me of what I was like when I was a sort of bolshy student or a 16-year-old, when I used to say things to try and shock my parents. That's what Zach Polanski is. And Zach Polanski also, people say he's modern, he's cutting edge, he's radical. He's not. He's a throwback to boring little sort of tin pot Che Guevaras in the 1960s. There's nothing new about their alleged radical stance. But they're attracting a lot of support, and that is what's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a country where, according to the polls, more than half of young people, I think more than half of Britons on the whole, or almost half of Britons on the whole, would not fight for this country in a time of war, and that goes into the majority amongst young people. And so people like this anti-establishment, rebellious feeling. I mean, you say it reminds you of when you were a teenager. It reminds me of when I was a toddler, kicking over my potty, stamping my feet, having a tantrum and thinking it was funny. That's
probably a better analogy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Zach Polanski is, you know, thinking that it's hilarious to desecrate Churchill's memory, the man without whom home, we'd all be speaking German, desecrating his memory out in front of Parliament Square with some grossly anti-Semitic and anti-Western slogans, and thinking that's all hilarious. And the real thing is, let's not support the Jews in their fight for survival in the Middle East.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Zach Polanski and his acolytes, that woman Hannah Spencer who won the Gorton and Denton by-election, they're just childish, to be honest with you. Did you notice, by the way, that Hannah got down to Westminster and put her nose right to the grindstone, working very hard for her constituents? On one of her first days in Parliament, she was at that Strictly Come Dancing session when all the MPs, 40 MPs, yesterday morning, as the world teetered on the edge of global conflict and the economy went to hell in a handcart, they were all dancing in Portcullis House, and in the middle of them was old Hannah in her bright green sort of revolutionary clothes. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, of course she was. And she, I mean, there was that, and she also found time to pose for a picture with Hassan Zomlot, the Palestinian supposed ambassador to Britain. I mean, the whole thing, it just comes together, really. It's hatred of the Jews, hatred of Britain, hatred of the West, and thinking the whole thing is a right wizard wheeze and attracting lots of young people to that banner. It's a sort of infantilized movement. It's a movement of children. It's a movement of indulgence and complacency and narcissism and self-love. And these people are convinced that they are the ones that are the moral ones, when in fact they're standing up for the worst forces the world has ever seen.
And just in essence, though, I mean, they despise Israel and they are legitimizing Jew hatred and Israel hatred because it's part of their creed. And all of these idiots who are attracted to the Greens, mostly 18 to 24-year-olds and stupid middle-class socialists who live where I do in Hampstead and everything, they're being sort of influenced by this, and so it's become sort of the fashion: Israel bad, Islam good. Again, very unhealthy.
That's always been the case. And frankly, you know, Zach Polanski is Jewish, which makes it almost even worse that he's leading a movement that basically is militated against his own people and his own ancestral homeland and self-determination. But, you know, people ask me what I think of him, and I think back to a long way, to 1144. You know, 1144 in Norwich was the first example of the blood libel, when a child called William was found dead. It was blamed unfairly on the Jews as if they used it in their rituals, and that became this blood libel which continued throughout the centuries to claim many millions of Jewish lives. Well, the person who first came up with the blood libel was a man called Theobald of Cambridge in 1144, and he actually originally was a Jew who had converted to Christianity and said, when I was a Jew, that's what we used to do, kill children and eat them. And you know, Zach Polanski, frankly, reminds me of Theobald of Cambridge. He's spreading this blood libel about Israel being a genocidal power that kills babies for fun. That is the modern blood libel. It's spread by Zach Polanski. Shame on him, shame on his deputy, shame on his party and the entire movement that is trying to bring our country down.
Well said, Jake. Great to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Jake Wallace-Simons there. Trevor Kavanagh next. Stick around, folks.
UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Later in the hour, we will talk about the migrant crisis. Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary's absurd plan to try to bribe illegal migrants who have been refused asylum to leave, to go back to their own country, and we'll give them £40,000 to do it. Just kick them out. What are you giving 40 grand for? It's just pathetic, isn't it? Also, her crackdown is really taking big effect. I can reveal that around about 600 migrants have come across the channel illegally this week, so that's good, isn't it? Still they come. That later. We'll also talk in a little while to a guy who was born in Tehran, moved to the United States and served in special operations. So it'll be interesting to get the inside take on what might be going on in Iran at the moment. But first, let's go back to the big story, the war, Britain's lamentable response to it, and talk to the former political editor at The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh. Welcome, Trevor.
Hi, Kevin.
Well, I thought I might play you this little clip of one of our powerhouse politicians, one of the titans leading this nation through these terrible times of war. I give you our Deputy Prime Minister, David Calamity Lammy. Take it away, Dave.
What I would say is we've got 400 people, additional staff dealing with air defences, and that includes over Cyprus. They would have heard the Defence Secretary was there yesterday. They know also that we have deployed Typhoons to the region, F-35s to the region. We will do everything we can to protect our airbase, to protect our staff and people, but also to support alongside our allies, I should say, because Cyprus is part of NATO.
It's a slight problem there, isn't there, Trevor? Cyprus isn't part of NATO, and you might, I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I kind of would like our Deputy Prime Minister, the second most important man in this country, allegedly, to know that, but he doesn't.
The lamentable Lammy, yes. I think that as a former Foreign Secretary particularly, he would know that, but frankly, it betrays the ignorance and incompetence across the whole range of government. I mean, we've got a Prime Minister who doesn't know which way to turn unless he's told by Ed Miliband or other left-wingers in the party, depending on the way election results go in places like Gorton. Everything is weather vane politics for him. And, we've now got a situation where, because of our neglect of our base at Akrotiri in Cyprus and the failure to defend it from incoming missiles, the Cypriot government is thinking about taking away our sovereign right to the base. This is a major strategic piece of military positioning for us, and we're blowing it thanks to this government.
And that was there were 2 drone attacks over the weekend on Akrotiri. One missed, and the other one apparently hit the runway. Mercifully, no one was hurt. Now, whether or not those missiles actually came from Iran is a matter of some debate. It could well have been Hezbollah because that's closer, Lebanon. But that would have been on the orders of Iran. So effectively, we were attacked by Iran. That is the first time there has been a military attack on British territory since the Falklands War in 1982. Now, in 1982, when the Argentinians attacked the Falklands, you will recall, Trevor, because I hope you don't mind me saying so, but I know you're old enough to remember, and I grudgingly admit so am I. When that happened in 1982, the Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, I believe it took her 4 days to scramble 40 ships, a massive task force, including the Ark Royal aircraft carrier, set sail across the Atlantic all the way down to the southern tip of South America within 4 days. Now that is how Britain should respond. That's how you would expect the nation that used to rule the waves, Britannia rules the wave, to respond to an attack by an enemy. How have we responded to the next attack by an enemy? By doing absolutely nothing and relying on the navies of France, Greece, Spain and the Netherlands to protect our people in the Cyprus. It's a disgrace, a humiliating disgrace.
Well, I remember that decision very clearly, and I remember that it took courage, decisiveness and resolve on the part of a Prime Minister who, at that time, if you remember, was being criticised for it by the Labour Party at the time. And what we have in her place is someone who can't even muster the one ship that seems to be seaworthy and ready for battle, and even that isn't either seaworthy or ready for battle as we speak. And it's a destroyer with the Welsh dragon written all over, plastered all over the front of the bows, and it looks like blood, actually, at first sight. It's a terrible situation. That is our Navy. That boat, which is stuck in dock, having welding repairs done to it and munitions applied to it, is more or less our only working ship at the moment. Our 2 aircraft carriers are in dock. And we've got some aircraft, but we have no Navy and we have no support. It's a disgrace, a scandal, and also a huge danger to the defence of this country.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, Starmer is making great play. That's the first duty of a Prime Minister is to protect the people of his country. Well, he has failed in that duty. We don't feel protected at all. We do not feel safe. And his failure to allow America to use our air bases was a catastrophic mistake. He's ruined the special relationship. And you know, Trevor, don't you, as a veteran of the Westminster scene, you know how the Downing Street comms department works. It's clear to me that over the last couple of days, it's finally dawned on this government and their dozy comms people that the people of Britain kind of expected them to prepare for this obvious conflict that was coming in the Middle East. They've realised that they haven't, and they're now pretending that they did. The Prime Minister yesterday in Downing Street, we've been preparing since early January. They clearly haven't. People said, oh, he's gaslighting the nation. I said, no, I don't think he's gaslighting the nation. He's lying to us. He's just they are lying to us.
They are lying to us, and, the Americans, President Trump didn't exactly conceal his hand, having assembled the biggest armada of warships and the aircraft carriers, all the accoutrements of war on a massive scale in that region. I mean, we all knew what was coming. We didn't know exactly what was coming, but we knew something was coming. And the big problem, I think, Kevin, is not just that our government is deceitful and useless and all the rest of it. It is the fact that it's sent a signal to our enemies that we haven't got a glove to raise in our defense if we are pushed at any point. They're talking at the moment about this perhaps being already the beginning of World War III. China is watching this, and we might see an attack on Taiwan in the coming months as a result of the fact that America is tied up in the Middle East. We might see Russia doing all sorts of things to damage Britain. I mean, he has already made it clear that he regards us as a target and an enemy. And here we are with one destroyer stuck in dock with a dragon painted all over its bows, nothing on the surface, no weapons on it, and it's not ready to sail. I mean, if something really serious began to happen, where on earth would we be?
And what did we learn, or what have we learned this week? That last Friday, this bunch of clowns, these cabinet ministers, were in a meeting of the National Security Council with Ed Miliband, Crazy Ed, Red Ed, shouting away about being pacifists. And quite clearly, they came out of that meeting thinking that that Britain could just say, well, this has got nothing to do with us. They could appease the Muslims of Gorton and Denton and all over the country by saying, well, we got no quarrel with Iran, your Muslim mates in Iran, and this isn't our dispute. The Prime Minister's constantly saying, we are not involved in this. They felt, or they clearly believed, that if they just said, right, well, this isn't our fight, that we could just not be involved. It's naivety on an epic level, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it wouldn't be almost as bad as it is if they'd actually meant it when they said we are not going to get involved. They were just havering. They had no nerve, either lost or found, to actually decide whether they were going to get involved or not. And it just looks as if, I mean, it looks profoundly weak in all directions. And the realization that's dawning on people now that Ed Miliband is actually the puppet master pulling Keir Starmer's strings is extremely frightening, because the fact is, and it's not widely known, or should be well known, but it's probably not, that Ed Miliband and his brother David are the sons of a Marxist professor of politics. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And Ed Miliband betrays all of the ingredients of an extreme left-wing socialist who does not believe in the defense of this country. And at the moment, that is our prime duty as a government, or their prime duty as a government, and our biggest weakness.
Exactly. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. You know, they're just polishing their halos, virtue signalling, where a terrifying reality is erupting in the Middle East. And as you say, it is not an exaggeration to say we are knocking on the door of World War III, and our government is clearly not prepared, has not been preparing, and kind of thought it could suck up to the Muslim community whose votes it so cravenly pursues all the time by saying, nothing to do with us, Governor. It's just unbelievable. They're just hopeless. Just to go off piste for a second, Trevor, this has literally just arrived on my desk. This is an exclusive from Tim Shipman, the chief political writer at The Spectator. You'll like this. Britain is to get a new anti-Muslim hostility czar. This will be a special representative on anti-Muslim hostility, and he's likely to be given a prominent platform. Their job will be to champion efforts across the UK to tackle hostility and hatred directed at Muslims and those perceived to be Muslims. So it's the Muslim vote that continues to preoccupy our bizarre Prime Minister, isn't it?
Yes, and what about the hostility and hate directed by some of the Muslim community towards Western countries like Britain? I mean, this is a very strange thing that, I mean, if you're not religious, as I'm sorry to say that I am not religious, these creeds and cults, which I think, in fact, Islam is, and so are all the other major religions, why should we have to be held hostage by a belief which was set down in the desert somewhere in the Middle East by someone whose words were later transcribed, if that's the right word, 3 centuries later by people who were probably semi-literate themselves? It's an absurdity that we're being held hostage by people we've allowed into the country in very large numbers, whose faith dictates to us how we live our lives.
And we have a government that is more worried about offending Muslims and therefore doesn't want to engage in too much aggressive rhetoric about the lovely people of, or the Ayatollah and the mad mullahs of Iran. Rather, it prefers to be aggressive about America. So God knows where the hell we are heading. I mean, into the gates of hell, the way it's looking. And the lack of preparation and the attitude of these pound store Che Guevaras who are currently running this country is just terrifying. Just one more point I'd like to get your take on, Trevor. Zach Polanski and his Green Goblins in the London Assembly voted against a motion to condemn the desecration of Winston Churchill's Parliament Square statue, which, of course, at the end of February was daubed with Zionist war criminal, Hamas slogans and so on and so forth. They voted against condemning that. And as this was being debated by horrified, decent people in the London Assembly, Zach Polanski found it hilarious and was laughing away. You know, your thoughts on Zach Polanski and the Green Party. You know, they're a joke. I was just saying to Jake Wallace-Simon, they remind me of what I was like when I was about 16, when I used to say things to shock my parents. The trouble is, though, I mean, they're a bunch of children. They're just childish, juvenile idiots with ridiculous policies. But the problem is that they are gaining a lot of support, particularly among the 16 to 24s and middle-class socialist idiots who live in places like Hampstead. It's worrying, isn't it?
Well, it's terrifying, frankly, because, as you say, up until Gordon and Denton, the by-election there the other week, they were a joke. And they were a silly joke until they started getting very large chunks of the electorate to support them in by-elections. And they stand for everything that is horrifying to, I think, ordinary people that are listening and watching this program, who have the sort of common sense and background of people who have learned to be democratic, accountable, accepting freedom of speech and all of the accoutrements of a civilized society. The things that Zach Polanski stands for are really quite threatening. They sound like a joke, but, you know, they contradict one another. One minute they're saying that they support the Muslim people of Pakistan and all the other countries which have exported their people to this country. Next minute they're trying to preach that they believe that women can have a penis and that men can have a womb. And also that they are supportive of gay rights and so on, which are total anathema to the people of Pakistani origin or Muslim belief and faith. You know, it doesn't add up. And yet, as you say, it is dangerously seductive to a very large number of slightly delusional voters, mostly young women.
And did you see, last point really, Trev, did you see him on Laura Kuenssberg's show at the weekend? He got incredibly worked up, outraged that Keir Starmer would not publicly condemn Donald Trump and America and offer sympathy to the people of Iran. That's where he stands. That guy, he will be privately mourning the death of the Ayatollah, if you ask me.
Well, why isn't he expressing sympathy for the tens of thousands of ordinary Iranians who have been mowed down by the Revolutionary Guard with machine guns on the streets of Tehran and other countries across cities across Iran? Why isn't there a march in favor and support of those people who are simply standing up for the human rights that any Democrat, including Zach Polanski himself, would claim to espouse when they're standing for Parliament? I mean, it is such hypocrisy, but it's not just hypocrisy. It is a dangerous denial of the truth, which I think is going to come back to haunt us, or is already haunting us in British politics today.
Trevor, well said. Always good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. We'll speak next week, I am sure. Former political editor of The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh. Now, it's competition time, folks. Here we go. We are giving you the chance to win 2 hospitality tickets to the British Grand Prix on Sunday, the 5th of July, with full Racing Green trackside experience. This is the ultimate setup for race day. You'll get exclusive grandstand seats at the Loop and Village Corners, plus inner track access to watch the drivers arriving at the paddock, and access to the hospitality shuttle bus for easy on-site transport, racing simulators and live music between sessions, and all-day food and an open bar. That bit sounds good, doesn't it? Listen up to find out how you could be in with a chance to win.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close 20th of March 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
It's the perfect Silverstone race day experience for any F1 fan, so don't miss out. Coming up after the break, this is Talk.
every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, have taken that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really shone a light for me.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, no exaggeration to say that over the past couple of days, the conflict in the Middle East has escalated dramatically, and actually it spilled out of the Middle East, didn't it, when an American sub sank an Iranian warship off the coast of Sri Lanka. So you could say it's almost beginning to go global already. So many fears that we could be on the edge of World War III. But in the meantime, I wonder what will happen in the days and the weeks to come. Let's go over to my next guest. He is the author of Shadows of Tehran, and it's based on his own life story, that book. He was born in Tehran, moved to the United States and served in the special operations there. Warm welcome to Nick Berg. Hello, Nick.
Hello, Kevin. Nice to be on your show. Thank you.
Good to have you. Now, from what you know of Iran, let me ask you this. I think this war is going to come down to, in terms of the conflict we're watching now, is how many bombs, missiles, drones has Iran got, and how many defensive missiles and attack missiles have the Gulf states got, indeed, especially Israel, but also the other Gulf states. Now, Donald Trump is saying, "Oh, we've got weapons that we can go on forever," but he also is implying, "Oh, well, don't worry, Iran will run out soon." But contrary to that, I've read that there are stories that Iran too have an almost bottomless supply of these drone missiles. So if they can carry on forever, then we have a long conflict. So what is your view on just how many of these drone weapons, these drone missiles that Iran has?
So my take on it is Iran has been building for this for a while, and they were expecting something like this. But I don't think it's a bottomless process for them right now. It's they're using the drones more than the missiles, and that's because they're easy to make, they're cheaper, they're smaller, and they can really drive that model. But I think they can't last forever. I think maximum they'll probably have another 3 to 4 weeks of things, and we have already seen signs based on our war secretary talking about that the amount of launches that they have done is decreased tremendously in the last 3 or 4 days. So I think there's a lot more to come, a lot more to see, but I think we are really wearing them down at this point.
I don't know how much contact you have with people in Iran, your old home country, but I believe that only 20 to 30% of the population of that country, 90 million people, of course, live there, ever supported the Ayatollah and the Mad Mullahs and their tyrannical regime. So perhaps it's not beyond the realms of possibility when Donald Trump says, they will rise up and they will topple the remains of the Ayatollah's regime and take over the country. But it's just not going to be quite that simple, is it?
No, it will not be that simple. The thing is, I would say probably 90% of the people are against the government in Iran. But you're talking about a country that's 90 million people right now. And if you even take 10% of that, that's 9 million people that are supporting the government in that process. So, and that those people, the problem is that they are very, very devout people, those 9 million that we're talking about. They're not afraid of dying, and we have seen that over and over again, and they're not afraid of killing people. In early January, when the uprising happened, they killed over 30,000 people in 2 days. They're not afraid of any of that. And so the thing is, it's not going to be as easy as everybody thinks. The other problem is that the Iranian government, even though that they took out Khamenei and they took out other leaders, the Iranian government is set up for that kind of a scenario. So they were looking for that kind of a process that if it happens. So they are well-distributed government. It's not like Iraq that you took out Saddam Hussein and the whole thing crumbled. There's a lot more to it in the Iranian government. So it's not going to be as easy as everybody's thinking it's going to be. But I think Iranian people are resilient. They are brave, and they are ready to take their country back.
Well, also we have the problem, Nick, of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. There's 125,000 of them. They're a cross between the Nazi SS and the KGB. I mean, these are nasty people. If the going gets very tough, one fears that they will embark on bloodthirsty murder on an epic scale.
Yeah, but if you look at those numbers, yes, the IRGC is 120,000 people, but the IRGC, there's 3 sections in the IRGC. The top leadership, the middle leadership, and then the bottom part, which is the bottom part is mostly actually ordinary people. And they just, because of the way that the economy is in Iran, there's no jobs, there's nothing else. So they joined the IRGC to make a paycheck and make a living.
Okay, yeah.
So when you look at that, it's those numbers, that 120, the number that you're talking about, they're not all in that category of the SS process.
Okay, I understand that. Now, in terms of the United States, I mean, is it plausible that what we're hearing is, you see, a lot of people saying, look, Trump should never have done this. Trump and Netanyahu, you know, why did they do this now? You know, they don't know the outcome. They've got no plan, and so on and so forth. I think to some extent that kind of criticism is unfounded. A lot of wars start when people don't know what the outcome will be. That is the nature of war. I don't think we should be so worried about that. What interests me, and please tell me what you think. The word is that the reason that Trump and Netanyahu, America and Israel, decided to strike is that they learned that Iran may have been within weeks of developing a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon. Now, if that's true, I don't think any of us can criticise what is going on. What's it called? Operation Epic Fury, can we?
No, we cannot. And the thing is, I wouldn't put it past Iranian government to do that. I would like to say Islamic government, not Iranian government, because as Iranians, we all consider this an occupied country right now, and Islamic government is the occupying force. So the way to look at that is, I mean, if we look back in the history in World War II, Chamberlain had conversations with Hitler and tried to negotiate a peace, and that didn't come out very well. I think what Trump and Israel are doing is the right thing right now, and what they're trying to do is to eliminate the biggest supporter of terrorism across the world. This is not just about Iran. This is about people that are supporting Hamas, the Hezbollah, to some extent the ISIS if it suits them, and all of these other movements across the world have been supported by Iran. So once this government is gone and their financier is gone, you will see a different world at that point.
And last question, Nick. Good to have you on the show, by the way. Please come on again. What would be your estimation of how long this conflict may go on?
I would say it will probably be another 6 to 8 weeks at least, if not even more. And I wouldn't put it past a possibility of having ground troops there. I know nobody wants to see that, nobody wants to do that, but there is a good possibility that it's going to come to that.
Yeah, there's much still to come, as they say. Well, Nick, as I say, thank you for coming on to the show, and please come on again. That's Nick Berg, former Tehran resident, was born there, now lives in America, author of Shadows of Tehran, which tells his own life story. Let us now go to break. When we come back, we'll talk to Rakib Ahsan, social policy analyst, about the migrant crisis. As I said earlier, hundreds of them coming across this week, across the channel. Meanwhile, the Home Secretary is trying to defend her alleged hardline policies, her crackdown against a massive rebellion, of course, by the far-left Labour MP backbenchers. So she's never going to get this stuff through anyway, and it's not taking any effect. But we will talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. We're going to talk about the migrant crisis. He is social policy analyst, Dr. Rakib Ahsan. Welcome, Rakib.
How are you, Kevin?
I'm very well. A little bit worried about the dawn of World War III, but apart from that, everything's just cool. But let's not talk about that, because we've been talking about that the whole show, obviously. Whatever happens, things may come and things may go, but it seems that Britain's migrant crisis goes on forever. I can tell you, it is probably by the end of the week, this week, about more than 600 migrants will have come across the channel illegally. So that continues apace. Yesterday, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, announced some of her alleged hardline crackdowns, one of which was that she would offer families who'd been refused asylum £40,000, as much as £40,000 to go home. A lot of people saying, well, if they've been refused asylum, why don't you just send them home? But I think the main thing to worry about, oh, by the way, Iranian migrants are already thought to be arriving at Calais. So people who have managed to get the hell out of Dodge in Iran have made their way and are across Europe, are already arriving in Calais. So that could make this problem even worse. But of course, Shabana Mahmood, whose heart, I guess, is vaguely in the right place, she doesn't want to leave the ECHR, but she's trying her best to, within the confines of Labour policies to crack down on this crisis. She's facing a massive great rebellion from her left-wing Labour backbench MPs who just won't let this stuff get through, will they? So it's all a bit of a waste of time.
Well, I think that she's going to. I think the Home Secretary is going to face considerable opposition when it comes to Labour backbench MPs over her plans to reform the asylum system. I think these reforms are actually the step in the right direction. The Home Secretary has drawn a great deal of inspiration from the Danish Social Democrats, who have really, in recent times, toughened their immigration and asylum policy. But I think that the main issue here is that the Home Secretary is very reluctant to leave the ECHR. She wants to implement these reforms within the context of the ECHR. She's looking at the possibility of working with international partners to facilitate reforms regarding the ECHR. How much progress she'll be able to make on that front, I'm not entirely sure. But one thing is for certain is that the small boats crisis continues, and I think continues to be a very serious threat to social cohesion. And I think something that I think at times is overlooked is that it's a very serious problem when it comes to female public safety. And I think that just moving forwards, we can talk about moving our refugee policy, Kevin, from a model of permanent settlement to a more temporary one, a more temporary model. Well, I think in terms of refugee policy, we need to be looking more in terms of supporting neighbouring countries of conflict-affected areas, in terms of supporting them with humanitarian aid, because the reality is that we're facing so many integration-related challenges, so many cohesion-related challenges when it comes to matters of refugee and asylum. I think that it does pose a major threat to social solidarity in the country now.
Yeah, and also the stuff she's been saying this week, in fact, the stuff she's been saying since early December, when she styled herself as the Home Secretary who finally solved this crisis, which, of course, as you quite rightly say, she just won't, because just like everybody else in the Labour Party, the Labour government, she's wedded to the European Convention on Human Rights, and that will stop us making our sovereign decisions. But she's talked about, as I say, 40,000 quid to families to leave the country, and has also said that criminals, people who break the law, will no longer be allowed to stay in asylum seeker hotels. And you need to speak English to A-level standard to be allowed to stay. So the question about all of this is, why, of course criminals shouldn't be allowed to live in hotels at taxpayers' expense. Of course migrants who want to be allowed to stay here should be able to speak English. The question really that arises from everything she's been saying is, why did we allow this to happen before?
No, I think that it's just remarkable that we're now talking about the possibility of giving families up to £40,000 to remove themselves from the country. And this is in the middle of an ongoing cost of living crisis, and especially with what's going on in the Middle East. I think we're going to be feeling the pinch even more in some ways. So I think that what many people will be asking is, if people are ultimately here and they don't have permission to be here, then why are we having to shell out so much in terms of them being removed from the country? So the main issue is that we have a completely dysfunctional migration system. Now, Shabana Mahmood, she's also talked about sort of withdrawing visas, visa issuance from certain countries if they don't accept people who we want to deport back to their countries of origin. I'm not sure that's entirely workable, Kevin. I think that actually the big thing that many people miss is that in order for us to secure a high level of returns, a high level of deportations, I think that actually means cooperating with some unsavory regimes. And I think that's the big discussion we need to be talking about, actually.
I think the other, by the way, dozens of migrants have already arrived in Calais from Iran, and many more are expected to follow. They're fleeing the war there, of course, and there are fears that the conflict in Iran could promote an unprecedented surge of migrants. As many as 9 million people might want to flee that country. So we may be on the precipice of something really pretty terrible. And as usual with the migrant crisis, we've got no real response. And as I say, 600 or so have come across this weekend. And if Shabana Mahmood does not get behind the idea of leaving the ECHR, if the Labour government doesn't, they're never going to solve this crisis at all, are they? I mean, it's delusional to think you can solve this crisis while we are beholden to a European court, the European Court of Human Rights.
No, Kevin, I think you make such a good point there. I have absolutely no time for the Islamic Republic of Iran's military theocratic dictatorship. But it's obvious that if there's a military bombardment of Iran, which has ultimately been the case here, this military intervention by the US and Israel, then there's always that possibility it could lead to mass-scale migration from Iran, ultimately into Europe, and then ultimately to the UK. So I think that I find it very confusing that some people who seem to be hugely concerned by the small boats emergency are so willing and are so eager for the UK to participate in this military campaign. I find it somewhat contradictory.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Rakib. Now, this story has just broken. I'm very interested to get your take on it. Tim Shipman, the chief political writer at The Spectator, has revealed he's got hold of a 47-page document from the government, which is all about crackdown on extremism. But the main headline emerging from this document is that Britain is now to get a new anti-Muslim hostility czar. So once again, this is this government obsessing on the Muslim community and thinking that, a high priority right now is to appoint someone whose entire job on the behalf of the government is to work against hostility against Muslims. Now, of course we're against hostility against Muslims, but this is really rather a window into the tortured soul of this government, and particularly our Prime Minister, who is just obsessed with the Muslim vote.
Well, I think it's going to take more than anti-Muslim hostility czar for British Muslim voters to return back to the Labour Party.
Yeah.
If I'm being absolutely honest, I think what we saw. I wonder if there's some of this is actually a reaction to what happened in the Gorton and Denton by-election, where Labour got knocked into third place in a part of the country where they hadn't lost election since 1931. I think that in a country where we're currently in the middle of Ramadan. I myself, a British Muslim, I really think that we should be talking more positively about Britain and its traditional treatment of its religious, racial and ethnic minorities. And I think that considering that we live in a country where the principal terror threat is represented by Islamist extremism. Now, of course, Kevin, you've made this point so many times in our conversations. There's no place for targeted discrimination, harassment and intimidation. But I think there needs to be a very serious discussion and indeed very serious action about the security challenges that we face domestically and internationally. So I think that an anti-Muslim hostility czar, I'd like to see something more like a British Muslim contribution czar. And why can't it just seems like at the moment from this government it's a lot of doom and gloom and there's not enough positivity for my liking.
As you just alluded to, Rakib, the ultimate irony about this, and Starmer and his cabinet are so obsessed with the Muslim vote. I mean, Gorton and Denton, make no mistake, is dictating British foreign policy at the moment. They don't want to go too hard on Iran. They want to go against America because that's what the Muslim vote wants. So, hence our hopelessness in the face of this escalating conflict in the Middle East. And the irony is this. I had on, well, you're a Muslim, Rakib, but I had on, shall we say, a rather more extreme Muslim than yourself the other day, one of these Birmingham activists, one of these Islamists. He's actually quite a nice guy, but I don't necessarily agree with his outlook. And he said, let me assure you, Kevin, he said, the British Muslim community hates Labour. They hate Labour. So everything Starmer's doing to court this vote is spectacularly not working.
Futile. Kevin, I said this so many times before, that Labour has taken many voters for granted. That includes many British Muslims who live in traditionally working class, Labour controlled areas where there are underperforming public services, lack of economic opportunities, there's a real shortage of decent, affordable housing, and plenty of antisocial behaviour. And many of the local Labour officials, councillors, there's just been a complete lack of action in terms of tackling those problems. So when a lot of people, of course, Israel, Gaza in that context is very important, but I see that was the straw that broke the camel's back. There's been a great deal of British Muslim disillusionment and a great deal of British Muslim hostility towards the Labour Party for some time. And I think that whatever the Labour Party does, if they want to create an anti-Muslim hostility czar, they can create what they like. I think, in my view, it's too little, too late.
Totally agree. And the other thing my friend from Birmingham pointed out, and I like this, he said, well, look, here's the deal, generally speaking. He said, whether or not you're talking about extreme Islamists, Islamic extremists here, or just regular Muslims, he said, we're all British citizens. And he said, and all British citizens right now are united in their hatred of Keir Starmer. So we're all together on that one.
In that way, British Muslims are very well integrated in that sense.
Exactly right. Unity at last. Rakib, really good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Dr. Rakib Asen there, the brilliant social policy analyst. Next up, Sun Sport. Let's find out what's happening in the wonderful world of sport. That next, stay tuned.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk sport. Night sports editor at The Sun, Phil Cadden, is in the studio. Welcome, Phil.
Hi, Kev.
Right, let's talk about Spurs. Unbelievable scenes. They lost 3-1 at Palace last night. And one of the big betting firms is if you bet on Spurs getting relegated, they're already paying out on it.
Not surprised. I can't see where Tottenham's next win's coming from. Again, last night was incredible. the word is today that Igor Tudor, the interim manager, will remain in charge. That's quite incredible. We're even having that discussion. He's only been in charge for 3 games. But that's the reality at Tottenham. The scenes last night was pretty amazing. Fans leaving before half-time. They actually went ahead in the game and then conceded 3 times in 12 minutes after Van der Ven got sent off.
Oh, I forgot about that. They're sending off.
They're just a club at the moment that looks absolutely broken. I mean, there have been a few calls today. Should Harry Redknapp come back? Should Ange Postecoglou come back? Could Glenn Hoddle come in and help? They're saying for the time being, I think the club that Tudor will remain. They've got a Champions League game on Tuesday in Madrid against Atletico in the last 16, and he's due to do the press conference on Monday. But they are in stark danger here of getting relegated, and they've got Liverpool next Sunday. Then they've got a huge game against relegation rivals Nottingham Forest just before the international break.
Well, you got the Liverpool, they're easy to beat these days, aren't they? After Wolves.
After Wolves, yeah, of course, and they're obviously playing tonight as well. But that Nottingham Forest game just before the international break looks absolutely huge for them.
Yeah, and former Arsenal star Jack Wilshere, he seems to be on the edge of maybe managing Luton in the Championship, and he can't wait to play Tottenham. I mean, I was at Fulham on Sunday, and of course all the Fulham fans are chanting, say hello to QPR and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's sort of funereal, isn't it, the atmosphere around Spurs?
Well, it's open season at the moment, isn't it? And Jack Wilshere, with his history of playing for Arsenal, the local rivals, he is Luton manager. They're just around the playoffs in League One. And he actually said that a lot of his family are Tottenham fans, so he was sort of half joking and teasing that hopefully he gets them promoted. Yeah. And everyone, even in the offices and your mates, everyone's looking at who's in League One. They could be playing Tottenham next season. I think Lincoln's the obvious.
I'll tell you what's ridiculous about it. I mean, that stadium of theirs,
exactly,
and they'll be in the 2nd division. What we used to call the 2nd. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Well, I think that's why everyone's making the comparison to teams like Luton, Lincoln, Stockport County. They've got grounds which are sort of
corrugated iron shacks.
8 to 10,000, and it's just amazing that this is now looking like it could be the reality unless they can pull out some results. But with the injuries, the suspensions, the form, and also a big reason at the moment is their home form. And it's almost like a toxic atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and that is not helping the situation.
They got some good players, and even with their injury and suspension problems, they should have been, at least a mid-table team. There's something worse than that going on at that club. What I've perceived last Sunday was, when they come forward, they're not too bad. As I said, they've got some good players, but you sense their heart's not in it. They're disillusioned. They're not. They've lost their spirit.
I think. Well, they've always had the tag of being Spursy, but I think this season they're really lacking leaders. The captain Christian Romero has been sent off a couple of times, and then even the captain last night, Mickey van der Ven, sent off again, and that just sends such a terrible signal, not only to their teammates but also the supporters. And I think that's a real issue for them in the last 9 games, that when you look around at that Tottenham team now, who are the leaders, who are the players that are really going to step up and drag them out of this?
Let's move on to Man United. Jim Ratcliffe, man of the moment, making a few headlines lately. He'll be behind this. They've announced a season ticket price increase by 5%. That means that prices have now gone up every year for 4 years.
It's a balancing act, this one. The club on their side will say that they need to do this because they want to increase revenues. They want to be back at the top table of not just Premier League football but also in Europe, and they're looking like they might be in the Champions League next season, although they lost on Wednesday night at Newcastle. But then from the fans' point of view, they keep being asked for more and more money, and at some point some fans want to basically say enough is enough, and the fact that they've gone up 5% over the last 4 years is not a good direction. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's only been in the club the last couple of years, and it's not a great look because he's already done off the field things such as cutting a lot of staff, and obviously increasing ticket prices previously. So this feels like a little bit of a kick in the teeth for supporters again.
Yeah, and he has a reputation. It's like money over football, and the fans don't like that. But, you know, let's face it, I mean, they had a disappointment the other night, but after Carrick took over, they're not doing too badly. So at least they got some decent play to celebrate. Jesse Lingard, extraordinary career, played for England in the 2018 World Cup. Great player. He's only 33 years old. He has, I didn't realise, he has been playing in Seoul and is now about to play for Corinthians in Brazil.
Yeah, it's quite a colourful career. As you mentioned there, he's part of the Gareth Southgate's England squad in 2018, got to the semi-finals in Russia.
Yeah, amazing.
But it's sort of, you know, it's just spiralled really. He went from United to West Ham to then South Korea to Brazil.
Well, he's been about. So, Phil, great stuff. Next up, more on the big stories of the day. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Yeah, we're just talking about tonight's FA Cup tie, Wolves-Liverpool. That will be on TalkSport from 7 p.m. tonight. So Wolves-Liverpool on your favourite sports channel, TalkSport, tonight. Now, this is the final hour of the final drive time of this week. It's been one hell of a week. Later on, we're going to... it's been one hell of a week for a guy called George Cottrell. He is the kind of Jiminy Cricket sidekick of Nigel Farage, Reform UK leader. He's the sort of acolyte, slightly controversial figure, but Nigel Farage swears by him. Anyway, George put a bet on Donald Trump not bombing Iran. Quite a sizable bet. So obviously he lost that bet. Trouble is, he put $550,000 on it, so he's not having a great week. We'll talk about that in a little while, and whether or not actually it was even ethical to do that, given that he's, in inner political circles. Did he have inside information? If he did, it wasn't very good, was it? We'll talk about that in a little while. Take your calls towards the end of the show, because it's such a busy day. We're going to take your calls for all of half an hour. So as of 6:30, it's just over to you. The floor will be all of yours. 03444991000. You know what we're talking about. Basically, the pathetic response of this Labour government to war in the Middle East. It's unbelievable. I want to hear what you think about that. Also, what do you think about Zach Polanski laughing about the fact that Winston Churchill's statue in Westminster was attacked and daubed by vandals, by pro-Palestine vandals, and they daubed Zionist war criminal, amongst other things, on his statue. Zach Polanski thought that was funny, and the Green representatives in the London Assembly voted against a motion to condemn that vandalism, that desecration. What do you think about that? 03444991000. Get on the phone, let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk. Now, let's get back to business. Let's go over to my next guest to talk about some of the big stories of the day. Always a pleasure to welcome to this programme Lord John Redwood. Welcome, Lord Redwood.
Well, good evening, everybody. Yes, there's certainly plenty to talk about, and boy, do we need some common sense.
We certainly do. Well, I need to get your take on what's been going on over the last few days. I mean, we watched here at Talk and around the country, I think, with our jaws open, our jaws dropped, as that Prime Minister of ours stood in number 10 Downing Street, addressed us, statesman-like, time of war, and told us that never fear, this government has been preparing for this conflict since early January, if not earlier, but totally prepared. Well, if they were totally prepared, why is it we've got no warships in the Mediterranean? Why is it that British citizens, more than 100,000 of them, by the way, including British personnel on our 2 military air bases there, why is it that we have not been protecting them, not been defending them, because we've got no presence there, but the various navies of France, Greece, Spain, and we gather now the Netherlands have been defending and protecting our people in Cyprus. Don't tell me that that means this government has in any way prepared for this conflict. I think it's a disgrace, don't you?
Yes, I mean, it's tragic for everybody, and it puts service personnel at more risk than should have been the case. I mean, it's really a fundamental mistake of the Prime Minister that he did not understand that this American action against a terrorist-sponsoring thug regime was going to draw us into the conflict, whether we wanted to or not. And so the obvious thing to do was to assist President Trump from the beginning and be in the room and make sure it was influenced in the right direction in terms of the action taken. Instead, we had to have a U-turn from our Prime Minister 48 hours after he said he wouldn't be helping the Americans into realizing he did have to, because the Iranians weren't making that distinction and they saw us as a war target. And as you rightly say, I mean, how dare the political leadership of this government not have some firepower in the Mediterranean or close to the Middle East? When were we last in that position? And why were they not able to take urgent action when they started to realize they'd misjudged it and divert some force there? And what are the 2 aircraft carriers doing? What is the destroyer doing that was going to go off to the Arctic for an exercise? Surely a war takes priority over an exercise.
Yeah.
And why couldn't they galvanize some action to get some of our other vessels available? Well, this is what we have a navy for, and the Prime Minister doesn't seem to understand it.
Yeah, and of course HMS Dragon, or HMS Dragon Its Feet, as we now call it, that's still in dock in Portsmouth and won't be able to set sail for Cyprus until at least next week. So it won't arrive for a fortnight. I mean, this is a scandalous dereliction of duty on the part of this government. And we now know, we learned yesterday that this bunch of clowns from our cabinet were in a national security meeting last Friday where old Red Ed, Crazy Ed Miliband was banging the table, shouting about them being pacifists. This kind of delusion that they could essentially say, well, this is nothing to do with us. Oh, by the way, Muslims, please vote for us because we're not attacking Iran. It's nothing to do with us. The delusion that we could just sit here and say, nothing to do with us, governor. Of course we were going to get pulled into this, and our government, disgracefully, just didn't realise.
No, I mean, it's terrible. And of course, the other background news of the week was that they've now had to publish their Gibraltar deal, and once again it's give the EU everything it wants, and then they claim no sovereignty is surrendered, and yet we see from this 1,000-page document that Gibraltar is going to have to sign up to a whole load of EU laws that it cannot change or influence. It's going to have to align and raise taxes, it's going to have to impose handling charges, and it's going to have Spanish officials implementing Schengen border controls over access to Gibraltar. And this is another example, after the dreadful Chagos proposal to give away crucial US-UK base out in the Indian Ocean, that this government isn't on the side of the United Kingdom. It's always on the side of the United Nations or the European Union, and whatever they tell us we've got to do, this government just says yes, instead of checking that there's no legal power for these people to force these things on us, and not standing up for Britain and making a negotiation of it if they think they need to engage.
Indeed. Now, for better or for worse, Lord Redwood, you know, the defence of this nation is integrally connected to the special relationship. America helps to defend this nation, and indeed much of Europe. Now, the Prime Minister, when he refused Donald Trump or the states the right to use our airstrips, our air bases in both Britain and the Chagos Islands, Diego Garcia, when he said that, it was naive in the extreme. I mean, what did he expect Trump was going to turn around and say, well, that's fine, the special relationship is still very much intact, and if you need our help on anything, don't hesitate to ask? No, the president's furious, has called Starmer quite rightly no Churchill, has expressed his deep disappointment. Pete Hegseth has been chipping in this week as well. This Prime Minister has endangered this country by enraging and alienating the United States. I don't know what's going on in this man's head, do you?
No, I mean, it's dreadful. And people say, oh, well, because he's an international lawyer and he's very worried about the legal side of it. Well, he's not even good at the law. Because he and his legal advisors did not seem to understand that we have a prior treaty with the United States from a Labour government in the 1960s, granting them the rights to use Diego Garcia as their base, saying that they'd got to spend all their money on making it a decent base, and then, of course, it would be a joint base and they would use it. And then Starmer turns around when they really need it, because they needed the extra force and the specialist planes and equipment they've got in Diego Garcia, and says they can't use it. And then a couple of days later said, oh, well, maybe, but please send it to my lawyers first because we need to go through what you're going to do, more or less. I mean, it is just dreadful. It's unbelievable. And I don't think the Prime Minister does understand that the United States of America contributes around 2/3 of all the NATO force and budget and so forth. And as you rightly say, it is fundamental to the defence of this country and to Western Europe against any major power that America is committed with intelligence, with transport, with heavy lift, with the very big comprehensive nuclear umbrella, and with its massive arsenal of weaponry and planes and ships, because we simply don't have enough. And as we see, when we need to defend one base in the Mediterranean, we don't have a single ship to do it, and we just fly out a few planes. And I see now we found 4 more planes to fly out to Qatar. Well, I mean, it's a joke when you see the degree of power that Iran is deploying and the degree of power that America is countering it with.
Indeed. Now, let me play you a clip, if you don't mind, Lord Redwood. I think you'll enjoy it. It is our Deputy Prime Minister, also the Justice Secretary, and, of course, very germanely to this statement he's about to make, he's also the former Foreign Secretary. Take it away, David Calamity Lammy.
What I would say is we've got 400 people, additional staff dealing with air defences, and that includes over Cyprus. They would have heard the Defence Secretary was there yesterday. They know also that we have deployed Typhoons to the region, F-35s to the region. We will do everything we can to protect our airbase, to protect our staff and people, but also to support alongside our allies, I should say, because Cyprus is part of NATO.
Well, two things to say there, Lord Redwood. But first of all, it is the French, the Greeks, the Spanish and the Dutch who have been protecting our people in Cyprus, not the British. That in itself is a disgrace. The other thing to point out there is, contrary to what our Deputy Prime Minister announced just then, Cyprus is not a member of NATO. The incompetence, the ignorance of this cabinet, particularly of this man in particular, is just shocking and frankly kind of frightening. We've been having some trouble. Is that working?
Yeah, it's deeply worrying. And we've been saying earlier that they don't do their homework, as Margaret Thatcher would have said, who always did her homework. So they put out legal views, but then they discover that treaties and other legal advice is very different. Or they say they've prepared for something they were aware of. And then when you investigate, they've done very little and they haven't done the most obvious things. In this case, they didn't provide nearly enough air cover and they didn't send out any naval air cover, which would be the most obvious way of doing it. And as you and I said at the beginning of this interview, it almost beggars belief that the United Kingdom, with a very important base in Diego Garcia and a very important base in Gibraltar, which is also jeopardizing a bit by this new treaty with the EU, does not have the force available to project from Iran, either from the Indian Ocean or from the Mediterranean. I just cannot believe that the political leadership of our still quite impressive military in many ways has brought us to this low ebb, so that we are now made a joke. And as you say, we're relying on the friendship of neighbours to protect our personnel who should be protected by our own forces.
Last point, Sir John. Well, actually, not last point, but an important point. It looks to me as if over the past couple of days, you know, suddenly Starmer turns up, you know, standing in front of the Union Jack in Downing Street, assuring us that, you know, the government's on the case and has been since the beginning of January. I just saw Lammy talking about, oh, yeah, we've got boots on the ground, 2 boots. Those belonging to John Healey, the Defence Secretary, who's gone to Cyprus. I'm sure that's a source of great comfort to the British citizens on that island. They're playing desperate catch-up. They're pretending. They're trying to. They even put out a TikTok video today, you know, full of jets and Starmer saying the first duty of a Prime Minister is to protect the people. They are suddenly realising they should have been preparing for weeks, if not months, and they're trying to pretend that they have been, but it's palpably clear they have not been.
No, it is entirely clear, and it's symptomatic of a government that isn't even very good at spinning, and as you say, has to spin to try and catch up, having made mistakes. But then there's this huge gap between what they want us to believe that they're doing and thinking and what they're actually doing. So they say they want to be the government that takes our defences seriously and is putting a lot of extra money in to get the extra force and support the troops. But it's sometime never. They're not putting it in. They're not succeeding in giving us the armaments and in giving the forces the backup they need, or even in recruiting up to the targets they've already got for the number of personnel. So it's, at the very least, it's incompetence. And in some cases around that cabinet table, you wonder whether they really don't share this view at all and they don't think this is a priority. And as you rightly say, we've all read the briefings that Mr. Miliband, who is clearly a very strong presence now that the Prime Minister is so weakened on his own side, seems to think this is all an irrelevance. And he wants to get on with deindustrializing us so that we can never make proper weapons again in our country, because we won't be able to make steel, we won't be able to make chemicals, we won't be able to make anything, because he thinks everything has to be put under his extremely damaging net zero extremism, and we will end up importing expensive electricity from somewhere else, and we won't be allowed to burn gas in factories that make any weapons.
It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, they're a bunch of pound store Che Guevaras, this lot. They're sort of superannuated sixth form activists, you know, we're pacifists. Yeah. You can't be doing that. You know, okay, fine, great, you're pacifists. There's a reality unfolding terrifyingly in the Middle East, and our government hasn't done anything to prepare for it, and is only late in the day realising that the delusion that we could appease our Muslim voters by saying nothing to do with us, Governor, was just that, a complete delusion. And now we're getting sucked into it, and we are being run by a Prime Minister, I don't think, who knows his backside from his elbow.
No, I'm afraid the Prime Minister is pushed from pillar to post by his own side and by his own mistakes. And the only thing I've enjoyed from this government are the U-turns, but they come too late and they're not comprehensive enough. I mean, if they hadn't done any of the things they've done in their first year and a half, we'd be in so much better a position. And instead, heap taxes on, put inflation up, and then try and claim credit when you just begin to get it back down to where you started. Create mass unemployment, particularly for young people, with the massive tax attack. Carry on deindustrializing the country and say that it's all going to come gloriously right in 2030 because suddenly we're going to have all this so-called cheap electricity. And they don't even see that the renewable electricity is dearer than the gas-generated electricity. And they don't notice that on a day like today, there's very little wind, and so you are completely dependent on nuclear and gas-generated power years into their plans to try and do otherwise. So they are dangerous, they are foolish, and many of us want them to succeed and will give them advice because we know they've got a mandate for another 3 years. We don't want our country messed up. But they don't listen to people who actually know how you get more jobs, how you get more enterprise, how you get more investment, how you then have the money to strengthen your defences, how you offer political leadership to your armed forces. We're there, we're willing. Listen, government, because we can't have 3 more years of this disaster.
We really can't, said Lord Redwood. Nearly called you Sir John there. I was talking to Trevor Kavanagh earlier, and we were musing on how have we got from 1982, the Falklands War, when Margaret Thatcher realised that we were being attacked by an enemy. Our territory, the Falklands, was being attacked by Argentina. Within 4 days, she had 40 ships, a massive task force, including the Ark Royal aircraft carrier, steaming their way to South America within 4 days. And how have we got from there to now? A government that's done absolutely nothing to prepare for this. It's a catastrophe. It is a catastrophe. We're being run by clowns. We really, really are. Lord Redwood, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. Lord John Redwood there, former Conservative Cabinet Minister. Let me know what you think about what we were discussing. You know, I suppose it's been the theme of the show, but it's just... I just can't believe it. I cannot believe. I mean, we knew this lot were useless, but I think they're dangerously useless, aren't they? A bunch of sort of sixth form ideologues, that moron, mad moron Miliband. They're pacifists. There's nothing to do with us. You can't. Boo to America. Hooray for Iran. Oh, God, it's just, as I say, it is frightening, to say the least. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Before we get to the calls, we've got to cover one more story. It's an amusing story. It's a guy called George Cottrell. He works for Reform, close mate of Nigel Farage. He called on his geopolitical antenna and put $550,000 on Donald Trump not bombing Iran. Good bet, that one, eh? We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, are taking that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really shone a light for me.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, if you think it was bad news for the people of Iran and Tehran in particular, when America started bombing that country on February the 28th, think of a guy called George Cottrell, because it was particularly bad news for him. George Cottrell is a Reform UK backer, very close to Nigel Farage, very close aide of Nigel Farage. He's an interesting character. He's an aristocratic banker. He's a convicted fraudster. And he once wrote a book called How to Launder Money. Now, he placed a bet. There's a new sort of betting system called Polymarket, and it's prediction markets. You can place yes, no bets on a range of topics from politics to sports to the weather. Now, George, drawing on his brilliant geopolitical antenna, he put $550,000, I'll say that again, $550,000 on the fact that America would not strike Iran by February the 28th. Imagine his joy when on February the 28th America did indeed strike Iran, and he lost $550,000. They talk about Keir Starmer being a loser. Hey, I give you George Cottrell. That's a loser for you. Now, we did reach out to George, and we've reached out to the Reform UK press office. George, they said George is not an employee or a candidate for our party, so it's best to put this to him directly. But they gave us a list of contacts, and we've put this story to everyone we possibly can, and had no response. But let's talk about this catastrophe for poor George, ungorgeous George, to the former chairman for the Committee on Standards in Public Life, Sir Alistair Graham. Welcome to the show, Sir Alistair.
Hello there, good evening.
Now, the reason that we thought we might get you involved was obviously this guy is connected to a political party, and we were wondering if, he was using, if you like, insider information to place this bet. I mean, if it was insider information, it wasn't very good. But somebody closely aligned with a political party in Britain betting on this sort of thing, it's not a particularly good look, is it?
It's not a very good look for the Reform Party. If he's a major sponsor and has got lots of money to waste, either in supporting the Reform Party or doing dodgy bets, then you would think they would want to put a very large distance between him and the party, because if in fact he is very close to politicians and he's picked up the general impression that Trump wasn't going to, though most people don't believe they can trust what Trump says for very long at all. But if he decided to make a bet on those grounds, then clearly he can't be trusted in supporting a political party, can he?
Yeah, I think there is a problem here. As I say, if he was getting inside information for Reform, that's not a good look for Reform, because it wasn't very good information. This guy, his nickname is Gorgeous George. He's and he's also called Posh George, born to an aristocratic family, and was convicted of fraud. And he also wrote a book called How to Launder Money. But he placed bets on...
Well, he can now write a book on how to lose money.
Yeah, he can. He also placed bets on Keir Starmer being out of office by February the 28th. That was $125,000, apparently. Well, he lost that money as well. That said, apparently he won a $4.5 million betting that Donald Trump would win the 2024 presidential election. As a private citizen, he's entitled to make these gambles, but he's a very close confidant of the Reform Party UK leader, Nigel Farage, and I would suggest that Mr Farage ought to have a quiet word with him. As I said earlier, Sir Alistair, this is a very bad look.
It is a very bad look, and when the Reform Party are leading in the polls, and therefore there's a serious possibility they might form the next government, to have people like this who are willing to waste money on a ginormous scale and who are willing to make very difficult and unacceptable judgments, then that's rather worrying, really. I would have thought that they would want to get him out of the Reform Party because he will damage their reputation.
Now, all of this brings into question why they got rid of the Committee on Standards in Public Life that you used to chair. We could do with that now, couldn't we, to look at issues like this?
Well, to be fair, they did form a new body. I think it's called the Integrity Commission.
Yeah, well, maybe they should have a look at George.
Yes, and of course the chairman of the current chairman who was the current chairman of the Committee on Standards, has taken over as chair of the Integrity Committee. So there is a degree of continuity, but we have to see how effective the new body is going to be.
Indeed. Sir Alistair, really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. That's Sir Alistair Graham, former chairman of the Committee on Standards in Public Life, suggesting that Nigel Farage ought to have a think about his close mate, George Cottrell, Posh George, who's got a penchant for bet. As I say, as a private citizen, he can bet on what the hell he likes. But these political bets that he seems to keep making, they perhaps, ought to perhaps worry Reform UK, since he's so closely connected with that party. As I say, I stressed that we did contact Reform, and they said this is not a party issue. You need to talk to George himself. We reached out to George and to every contact that Reform UK, let's be fair, were very cooperative, and they suggested all these people we could talk to. We tried to, got no response. But I imagine that George hasn't got back to us because he's probably crying somewhere. Weeping, I would be. If you thought you were having a bad week. What about George Cottrell? That's $550,000. Unbelievable. Right, let's get back to competition time, shall we? We are giving you the chance to win 2 hospitality tickets to the British Grand Prix on Sunday, the 5th of July, with full Racing Green trackside experience. This is the ultimate setup for race day. You'll get exclusive grandstand seats at the Loop and Village corners, plus inner track access to watch the drivers arriving at the paddock, and access to the hospitality shuttle bus for easy on-site transport, racing simulators and live music between sessions, all-day street food and an open bar. Listen up and find out how you could be in with a chance to win.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines closed 20th of March 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Can't be bad. It's the perfect Silverstone race day experience for any F1 fan, so don't miss out. Coming up after the break, your calls 0344 499 1000. Let's get talking. It's good to talk on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Right, we've got lots of voice notes and we've got lots of calls. Still time to get involved, though. 03444991000. First voice note. Here's Wayne on Starmer's TikTok video.
Good evening, Kevin. It's Wayne from Erdington in Birmingham, mate. Claire Starmer, why would you even release a video when you've done so little? We look so foolish, yet you've released a video like you are John J. Rambo himself. You are an absolute wimp. Get back in your box. Give us back our country. Great show, Kev. Keep up the good work, my man.
Cheers, Wayne. Exactly right. I mean, a bunch of pacifists, we don't want to get involved. No, it's not our war. And then they release this video, jets, and as if they're sort of, action men warriors. Old Keir Starmer, he's inaction man, isn't he? They should get one of those boxes with him, waving a white flag or something. Here's another one. This is Pete on Starmer not having control.
Oi, Kevin. Got a new haircut, mate. Looks good, looking slick. As for Iran, the people in this country demonstrating on behalf of that regime, what on earth is wrong with these people? 31 foiled attacks by terrorists in this country, and all the ones being planned now probably, and all the people that regime has murdered. What, and these thickos in this country are supporting this regime. These people need help. Also, old Keir Starmer, Feathers the Penguin, he's totally lost control of the situation, hasn't he? What with that old bullying coming on telling people, like, I'm in charge of the whole situation, I knew all about it in advance. He's not in control of any situation, is he? They need to get rid of him now, but make sure that Ed Sillyban doesn't take over.
Thank you about the haircut. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, that's what people are thinking. This government, they're not fooling the great people of British. We see you, Starmer. We see you, Lammy. We see all of you losers, you clowns in that pathetic cabinet. We see you. Don't you try and con us. We know you've done nothing. It's pathetic. Here's a couple of men. Pete the Mole sent me a message talking about the first Iranian migrants fleeing war in Iran have arrived in Calais, dozens apparently. Pete says, how have they managed to get from Iran to Calais that fast? Well, Pete, I don't think they came by horse and cart. It's 2026. If you've got the wherewithal, you can make that journey. It's been now, it's a week, basically a week since the war started. So I'm not surprised they're arriving. They arrived in vans. They expect 9 million people might try and flee Iran and maybe make their way to the north coast of France. So get ready, folks. The asylum seeker hotels had better start getting the beds ready. Unbelievable. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Ken in Cardiganshire. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Kev. How you doing?
I'm all right. What would you like to say, Ken?
Well, first of all, this Shahid bomb that landed in Akrotiri, it didn't land harmlessly on the runway. It hit a hangar, a portable hangar for a start.
It seems that also, Ken, sorry to interrupt, but I think it's up in the air about whether there was one or two. I think there were two, and one actually missed the airbase narrowly.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm right, aren't I? Yeah.
Nobody's saying that the one that landed there actually hit the hangar.
I didn't know that.
Nobody was in it at the time. Nobody's actually mentioned that for some reason.
Well, you know what's horrific about this, as I was saying earlier in the show, that is the first time that British territory has been militarily attacked by an enemy since 1982, the Falklands, when Argentina attacked us, and our response then was to send 40 warships to protect our territory. Our response to what happened in Cyprus was to pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good old Starmer, speed of a striking snail.
Yeah. Well, it's worse than that. Didn't you see the Defence Secretary, John Healey, was on TV on Sunday trying to claim that this was indicative of the fact that Iran's just firing missiles in all directions. They don't know where they're going to land, and by a bit of bad luck, a couple of them landed right by our airbase in Cyprus.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
That's all it was. They were just firing them off.
It's rubbish, isn't it? It's rubbish. Who do they think we are?
Yeah, but what's worrying me really is the fact that the virtue of our response, if anything happens in this country, what have we engendered by our response? How are we going to actually demand any response from any neighbouring country? And we put out a cry and say, help. What's going to be the response from any neighbouring country to our plight?
Yeah, well, nothing, and we may well need help, because let me tell you, Russia and China and our enemies around the world will be looking at the way we've responded, looking at the fact we've, only got one warship and that can't even set sail, and going, hey, that Britain is undefended. We are a sitting duck, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, we've got sleepers, no end of sleepers from Iran in this country now. I guarantee it. And if they start rising up, then we don't stand a chance, I don't think, without some external help.
Yeah, exactly right, Ken. Ken, good call. Thank you very much. Ken in Cardiganshire. Let me read this out. This is from Clay. Clay in Folkestone. Great show, Kev. Thank you, Clay. Talking about the Green Party and the 16-year-olds supporting them, Starmer may not want to lower the voting age because it seems as if their vote, 16-year-olds, will go to Greens and not Labour. It's absolutely right, Clay. I mean, also, he's called the 16-year-olds, they'll vote Labour. No, they'll vote Green. Oh, let's get the Muslim vote. No, they're voting Green. Everything this idiot is doing isn't working. And in fact, as a Prime Minister, he isn't working one bit, to say the least. Before we go to break, should we take one more call? How about Jill in Cornwall? Hello, Jill. Is she there?
I'm trying desperately to make sure that I don't swear or say...
Yeah, you are live. Do not swear.
I am so... Do you know what? This is democracy, is it? This is living in a country where you have a say as to what and who does what for you within the country. And we've got a useless bunch of individuals that don't even know what they're doing, running the country. We've got a Prime Minister that is as sick as whatever, and various different ministers, and now we have, every time I hear the news, it's just getting worse.
Well, look, Jill, the thing is, as you've been listening to the show. I mean, I'm not often lost for words. I hardly know what to say about this government. It's just pathetic. They're a bunch of, as I keep saying, pound store Che Guevaras going to a Security Council meeting, banging Ed Miliband, banging his fist on the desk, shouting that they're pacifists and they're not going to get involved. You can't not get involved. This is Great Britain. And by the way, whatever we do, whatever Starmer does to try to cravenly say to the Muslim community here and to Iran, oh, we haven't done anything against you, Iran will always attack us, because America, to the Iranians, America is the great Satan and the little Satans are Israel and Britain. So nothing we can do can placate the Iranian hostility towards us.
Ed Miliband, I'm sorry, but Ed Miliband is a few coins short of a pound. I don't have any faith in that man deciding anything that's sensible for this country. And where are the people? Where are the politicians who feel like the majority of the people in this country? Where are they? I haven't heard anything from any of the politics and the political parties that are...
You're right. Well, they were all busy dancing yesterday in a dance practice in Portcullis House, so they've got more important things to do than to worry about World War III. Jill, I mean, what can we say? It's just we're humiliated, we're undefended, we are governed by utter clowns, and as for Ed Miliband, Crazy Ed, he belongs in a padded cell with a straitjacket on him. He really does. Thank you very much for an excellent call. Have a lovely weekend, Jill. I'm sure we'll talk next week. Jill in Cornwall there. One quick... this is a good one from... it's from someone called Yippee-Ki-Yay. Yeah. Yippee-Ki-Yay says, great show as always, why don't the government appoint an anti-Jewish hostility czar? as they are attacked more and no one looks out for them. It's a good point. The government's going, we're going to anti-Muslim hostility czar. Well, I haven't seen that much Muslim hostility. I've seen one hell of a lot of anti-Jewish hostility, a lot of anti-Semitism. Very good point, yippee-ki-yay. We should appoint an anti-Jewish hostility czar, shouldn't we? That's a good idea. Well done. By the way, historical note, I'm wrong as usual. I kept saying when Margaret Thatcher in 1982 sent a fleet of 40 vessels, 40 Navy ships down to protect the top Falkland Islands, that the Ark Royal aircraft carrier was among them. I'm wrong, apparently. It was two other aircraft carriers, HMS Hermes and HMS Invincible. So actually, it's even more impressive. We sent two aircraft carriers and 38 other ships. This time, we can't even manage to send one ship because it's still in port. Honestly, what has happened to this country? What have these clowns done to Britain? You know, as the Daily Mail said the other day, Keir Starmer has taken the great out of Great Britain. Shame on him. Shame on his hopeless cabinet, this gormless government. Let's go to break. More calls when we come back. 0344 499 1000. Stick around.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A few more calls before Peter Cardwell enters the studio to tell you what he's got lined up for your entertainment from 7 o'clock until 10 p.m. Before we get to the phones, there's a voice note from Martin on the Iran war.
I'm a veteran of 38 years service in the Royal Air Force and in harness at the time of the Falklands War. Just compare with what is currently going on by a Prime Minister with that of the Prime Minister in 1982. Maggie asked the Navy How soon can a battle group of ships be prepared to set sail south to the Falkland Islands? She was told within 48 hours, and that's what's happened. It did, of course, take long to assemble all the troops and resources needed to retake the Falkland Islands, including taking up ships from trade, modifying the Canberra to accommodate troops, and despite some muddle and problems arising for resources placed on the wrong ships, nonetheless, in short order, the whole battle group was soon on its way. It is utterly inconceivable that anything like that can be achieved by this state and in this age, and not least with the present government.
Great voice note from Martin there, former military man. I remember it as well. Margaret Thatcher, she's got everything together, and our brilliant armed forces. 40 boats. It took about 4 days before they actually set fire. Think about that. What have we got? One boat. Still docked at Portsmouth. The other day it was funnel was covered in scaffolding. It's like a sick joke. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Alex in Basildon. Hello, Alex.
Hi, Kev. Like your last caller there, I'm a veteran of 15 years in the military service, man and boy, born and bred in Munster, Germany, in a British military hospital that no longer exists due to this downturn in support. I want to talk more about Gibraltar and the Chiefs of Staff, really. They've got to grow a pair and go back at these traitors, is all I can call them. Outside of the UK... Well,
when you say that, Alex... Just sorry to interrupt. When you say that the chiefs of staff, the military chiefs, have got to grow a pair, I mean, I know what you're saying, but respect to our armed forces. This isn't their fault. It's not really the military chiefs of staff's fault. It's this government. And in the end, they have to do what the Prime Minister says, and they are led by this donkey in number 10 Downing Street.
I agree with that, but outside of Delamere, they've become weaker and weaker because of this liberal Labour. They wind me up so much. I could see them all hanging from Traitors' Gate. I really would. But if I just go back to Gibraltar, Gibraltar outside of England was one of the biggest Royal Navy.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of boats there, didn't we? Yeah. But I mean, we've pretty much given Gibraltar away. That's being run by the EU now.
This is what worries me, this deal that they're going through with now. I mean, I was out there in '84, just after they opened the gates, because a lot of people don't understand it was sealed off until about '84, somewhere around that region. And we were the last ever residential battalion to serve out there. And you could see the downturn of what was going on. You know, there was a ship in that port, a Royal Navy ship in them docks every single day.
I know. Now we've got nothing there. I know. Listen, Alex, I'm going to have to move on because the show's nearly over. But give me a call next week. Let's have a proper talk. Thank you to Alex in Basildon. Quick last call to Tony in Doncaster. Tony, you think Keir Starmer has been right to stand up to Donald Trump and tell him he can't use our air facilities?
No, I don't. I think he's a weak leader. I think as a person who was born conservative and has always been a patriot to my country, I think what he should have done is initially stood by his original decision, and that it's quite...
Well, no, but don't you think it was a terribly bad decision not to allow...
No. And I'll say for why. Now, I'm so glad we've talked about the Falklands, because I'll make this a point quick because I haven't got time.
Yeah, very quickly, mate.
I think Iran is an evil... disgusting.
Well, we're all agreed on that. Why was Starmer right to tell Donald Trump he couldn't use our air bases to launch strikes on that evil regime?
Two reasons. One, 457 British soldiers that died in the Afghan war, and thousands of British soldiers.
Yeah, but why was he right to tell our closest, oldest ally that they couldn't use our facilities? Just answer that question.
Yeah, I will do, because Donald Trump has shown no respect to British servicemen. Because
he didn't do that, but that isn't really the point, is it?
Well, it is, actually. And the second point is in the Falklands War back to 1982, the Israeli government supplied Stinger missiles to the Argentine government, and that is on the MOD website. And that, I rest my case, my priority is with Britain. It's not with America, Iran or Israel. It's about
yeah, well, let me tell you, Tony, by refusing to allow America to use our bases, the Prime Minister has endangered the safety of this country. It is as simple as that. So, with all due respect, you're just wrong. You're just wrong, but you're entitled to your view, and thank you for relaying it to me. Tony in Doncaster there. And Peter Cardwell is on that bombshell. Peter Cardwell is in the studio.
Speaking of people who are wrong all the time, yeah. just most of the time. Yeah, we're talking about Iran, of course. We're going to be seeing what's happening here in the UK and in the region. Of course, we'll go through everything that's happened today with Israel bombing Hezbollah in Beirut, for example. We'll also talk about a few other stories. The Green Party leader, Zach Polanski, refusing to condemn this Churchill statue vandalism. Outrageous. A hospital paying an applicant £7,000 because she said anxiety meant she couldn't answer questions quickly and concisely. And whether you should use headphones in airplanes as well is something we're going to be discussing. So loads to talk about. Oh, also, can you grow hummus on the moon?
Yeah, no, I heard about this. My wife was telling me about this because she I love hummus. I said, well, yeah, but it's not really relevant whether or not you can eat it on the moon, is it? Last message here that you can get involved. This is from Graham. He said, how dare that mutt